The Dakota Proclamation by Musa, Meredith Quinn. His land, Mom's apple pie. There is a song in my heart. What are the words? This land is my land. Well, to the Indian, that is all it can be, a song. To live in the so-called civilized world means that identity, family background, power, and wealth are all measured by the land one owns. You can pick up pictures, or better yet, contact your local travel agent and make your reservations. You might even receive a little traveling bag that has the wording, "See America First." Travel through this great land and see what the Indian created to watch over, but could not hold because he was not white. Visit the farming areas where you see homes, barns, equipment, trucks, cars, lands, undercrops, the farmyard with chickens, ducks, geese, cows, horses, pigs, sheep, children playing happily in the yard, the mother standing at the back door with her apron on. You know she's just finished cooking or canning something that will endear her loved ones around the dining room table. And clean white washing hanging on the line, blowing in the breeze. You watch for a while, for you can see security, education, taxation, a sense of belonging, and no shame, because here is the fruit of the land, the image of no need or want. Or visit the mining areas, where huge machines and complex building structures enable man to draw out the riches of the land and go home to enjoy his family. Here, too, is presented prestige, power, and wealth from the land. Now turn into the timber country. See the smoke coming from those strange cone-shaped buildings? Look at those diesel trucks, thundering into the yard with logs bigger than a house. Look around as far as your eye can see. There is timber and trees. Who was that woman that wrote, "I think that I shall never see a poem more lovelier than a tree"? Look at the snow on the mountains. From here begins your televisions, tables, chairs, floors, homes, boats, furniture, glue, clothes, books, newspapers, magazines, funny books, games, boxes, and Disneylands. No matter what is made in this world, you'll find a part of a tree in it. But trees stand on land. Look, we're coming into a city. See the new houses being built? Boy, I bet they have swimming pools. I wonder who owns the lands. Why didn't they do this before? I sure wished I'd owned this land. I would really be rich. There's a sign of some kind. Oh, it's an Indian reservation. I've never met an Indian. Let's stop so I can tell my friends that I met a real Indian. Be careful of the roads. You'll break the car. Oh, how dirty they live. Look at those children playing, will you? Dirty, unwashed, no shoes. What's the matter? Don't their parents care for them? Look, they even cook on the ground. Don't they know they can get germs? Why do they want to live like this? They don't want to help themselves. Let's go somewhere else. Maybe we can see an Indian on his horse with a bow and arrow hunting a buffalo. If I've heard them once, I've heard the following concepts 1,000 times. But this is as far as anyone goes. The Indian himself owns land, or lives on what he believes is his land, rich in minerals, fertile soil, timber like you have never seen, and near development areas untouched. Yet there is no way he can get to it. Let me show you why we will never be a prosperous people. 3 cheers for freedom. Well, he still has his reservation. He can sit down on the ground with his wife and be Indian. Call your local Bureau of Indian Affairs and ask for the Johnson O'Malley Act, or sometimes called Public Law 280. Ask for the whole act, not what they want you to read. In fact, it states that any state can interfere with the Indian being Indian, with no protection from the government. This land where Indian reservations are located are non-controlled by acts and statutes. Even if the Indian wanted to, he couldn't give it away. No, the Indian must wait on the reservation as these special interest groups decide which land they want next. Their method of operation is very simple. They introduce a Senate bill to Congress, which is read 3 times, and transferred to the Committee of Interior and Insular Affairs, which makes sure that guardianship, alienation, and severalty are not changed, and citizenship is not issued. It ensures that the Indian remains without rights and his lands are kept intact, untouched, till these same special interest groups get ready to use them. This same bill, when ready, is returned to the House or Senate, voted on, and passed. When it leaves the Interior and Insular Committee, it will always pass the Congress. Meanwhile, the Indian has lost his sovereignty, nation lands, resources, treaty, and his identity through these acts, which an attorney would lose his license if he told the Indian what they meant. It really works. Congress may determine the rights of Indians to the occupancy of lands, and if injury occurs, the relief must be sought from Congress and not the courts. The fee to Indian lands is in the United States government, the Indians having at most only the right of occupancy based on Aboriginal possession and occupancy. While the government may extinguish this right of the Indian, it should not do so without their consent or without compensating them therefor. Title 42, CJS 28, page 688. The title of the government to Indian lands, which has been designated as the naked fee, is a sovereign title, the government having no landlord from whom it holds the fee. Title 4, CJS 28, page 688. An Indian reservation is a part of the public domain set apart for the use and occupation of the tribe or tribes of Indians. Only the United States can deprive the Indians of their rights in a reservation, and even the United States should not do so without compensating them. Under special acts of Congress, various Indian tribes have been able to recover from the United States for the wrongful taking of their lands. Title 42, CJS 29, page 619. 18 USCA 1152, Cauliflower versus Garland, 342 F. 2nd, 369. CA Mont 1965, Sovereignty bars way of one wishing to sue Indian tribes. Cherokee Nation versus Southern Kansas Railway, 13.5 U.S. 641 34L, edition 295, 10 SC .R.96. An Indian tribe is not a sovereign nation, and the United States may exercise a power of eminent domain in its territory. U.S. versus Salamanca, D.C., New York, 27 F. Sup. 541, 25 USCA 81, Note 3. This section expressly accepts from its provisions treaties therefore made. Otherwise, the United States could abolish or change a treaty without approval of the tribe with whom it was made. 42 CJS 24. The United States has power to make treaties with Indian tribes. The Indian has the rights to treat it as a nation or states in a limited sense, dependent, it is true, but still capable of making treaties. And members of treaties were made in reference to land, supplies, education, intercourse, and other matters. This method of dealing with the Indian tribes by treaty was abrogated, however, by the Act of March 3, 1871, Rev. St. 2079, 25 USCA 71, which provided that no Indian nation or tribe within the territory of the United States should be acknowledged or recognized as an independent nation, tribe, or power, with which further provided that no obligation of any treaty law fully made and ratified with any such Indian nation or tribe prior to the date of the act should be thereby invalidated or impaired. Now that you know there is no statute for an Indian to own land as an Indian, and that according to the severalty law, even the property he buys off the reservation can be taken from him, let's see if there's a chance that he can develop the mineral resources. 42 CJS 30, page 696. A. In general, ordinarily a grant of land to an Indian tribe or nation for its absolute and undisturbed use and occupation carries with it the beneficial ownership of the minerals therein. Mining claims cannot be located on such land unless the Indian title is extinguished. Hence, if the United States wrongfully takes or appropriated any part of the land, the tribe is entitled to have included in its compensation for such taking a value of minerals therein. B. Leases, page 697. Mining leases on Indian tribal lands are invalid unless sanctioned by statute. Under various statutes, such leases are permitted, but they are generally subject to the approval of the Secretary of the Interior. 42 CJS 32, page 702. Cutting and sale of timber, hay, or grass. Timber may be sold under departmental regulations and subject to the approval of the Secretary of the Interior. In the absence of any provision, therefore, Indians are held to have no general right to cut timber for sale. 42 CJS 31, page 700. Ferry and water rights. An act or treaty creating a reservation may expressly or implied reserve to the Indians in the use of the waters on the reservation, and Congress may provide for the just and equal distribution of the waters among the Indians resident on a reservation, where irrigation is necessary. Congress may also provide for the acquisition of water rights in an Indian reservation by private interests. If there are any questions left in your mind that the Indian cannot develop his lands, you are past helping and too far gone. Let's see if the poor Indian can homestead. Indian is not a race, creed, or color. 43 U.S.C. 173. All commutations of homestead entries shall be allowed after expiration of 14 months from date of settlement. 43 U.S.C. 189 states that the Indian does not have the right to. 43 U.S.C. 179, but must first show the Interior Department that he has abandoned his tribal relations and wipes out 43 U.S.C. 184, which states that no color, creed, or race will keep you from homesteading. So the Indian is not a race or creed according to the United States laws. After the Indian has shown that he has abandoned his tribe, then the Secretary of the Interior will hold his title for 25 years, and then he will receive land titles. This is the same title needed for the Indian to get a certificate of citizenship. Just in case there's an Indian on land prior to July 4th, 1884, he still has to wait 25 years to get title. 43 U.S.C. 433A. Outside of being Indian, you can get preference to homestead land if you are a needy family. 43 U.S.C. 329 says that you have to be a U.S. citizen, so we now know why the Indian doesn't homestead. 40 years to try. Let's just review the conditions and what it would take if an Indian was to try and homestead. Apparently, it would take a complete lifetime just to legally do it as an Indian. First, he must be 20 years old and the head of the family. Second, he must get a certificate of tribal abandonment, 5 years. Third, he must get a certificate of eligibility. Fourth, he must get a certificate of competency. Fifth, the Secretary of the Interior holds title for 25 years. Sixth, a Senate bill presented to the Congress so that guardianship, alienation, sovereignty should be relieved, and it must pass the Congress. Seventh, Then the Secretary of the Interior issues a certificate of citizenship. Eighth, then the Indian gets title to his land from homestead. This procedure could take from 40 to 50 years of an Indian lifetime just to get title to homestead land. And remember, it's the only way he can own land legally. Quinn's concept. This next page is an idea that was in booklet form. It is the last of an original 18. All of this study is lost because students and members of university groups had promised to help with the Indian problem. The booklet in its original form showed by year infant and general mortality rates by reservation and to population of the Indian and Indian land shrinkage. Here's a simple rule. 90% and 80% Indian bloodlines are trouble areas. 70% Indian bloodlines is an area that is set up territory to complete federal acts for termination. 30% and 40% Indian bloodlines is allotted land area, which is always trouble area. Study this idea the page affords, because there is no other one document that puts together enough information that you can combine any number of reports on the Indian problem.